now listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. Today we're going to talk about Martin Zubimendi. It's been a while since I did a video on Martin Zubimendi changing our lives, but here we are once again. The substitution against West Ham was the catalyst for really springing Arsenal on. And unfortunately, it wasn't a completely positive substitution because it has coincided with the Martin Odegaard injury once again and him setting a record that no one wants. He's the first Arsenal player to be substituted 3 times in a row before halftime in the Premier League. And this time it's resulted in an MCL injury, hopefully a lower grade injury, but we don't know yet. We don't know the full outcome. We don't know the full extent of that injury. But what we do know is that Martin Zubimendi was absolutely phenomenal when he came onto the field. His substitution really changed the game. 28 minutes and 56 seconds into the game, Zubimendi came in. Unfortunately for Martin Odegaard, he had been playing fairly well up until he took that collision. But whenever he did it, it was quite clear straight afterwards that there was a chance he was going to have to come off. Zubimendi was sprinting up and down the touchline, very quick to get ready and very quick to get his tracksuit off, get onto the field and get playing. And today I'm going to dive into some of the brilliance that we saw from him. I put quite a lot of work into the graphics, picked a lot of key moments in this. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. Please comment as well. It really helps with the algorithm. It's not something I usually say, but it is a big help. But I'm going to start off with looking at the Declan Rice goal, because I think that's a really good point to dive in. Let's dive in with the positive and look at Zubimendi's role in this goal. So you can see straight off the bat, Martin Zubimendi is in the middle of the park. So this all starts with a West Ham goal kick. Comes down the other end, and of course it's Big Gabby competing for that header, going forward, winning his duel, and the ball breaks. It ends up going out to Leandro Trossard on the left-hand side, who I've highlighted. Trossard just scoops that ball out to Saka, and the ball ends up bouncing back. But what's really interesting, if you look at where we are in each of these, you look at Saka, the ball breaks, Zubimendi's coming forward, he cuts in, wins the ball first, gets that ball out very quickly to Saka, keeps running forward, ball goes into Eze, into Declan Rice. But let's rewind that a bit. Let's have a look at Zubimendi's position in each of these. Ball comes down from a goal kick. Look at Gabriel, aggressive, front-footed, in to win his duel, in to win the ball. But look where Zubimendi is. He's 5 yards away from him. Zubimendi's a second ball magnet. He's very good at positioning himself in the right areas to win the ball. And so much of what he does is first touch, keep it moving. We refer to him as a tempo setter. But he's also very good at positioning himself. He knows where to be. I described him in one of my tweets as a ball magnet, and I stand by that. And when I've rewatched this game and looked at his performance, the more and more I see that. He's a player that glides into possession. He floats around the pitch, and he is literally a magnet to the ball. But you look at him here, you start to see why. So here he is, ball breaks. Again, Trossard has it. There's a triangle there from Gabriel to Trossard to Zubimendi. Again, he's a few yards away. The pass isn't on. Trossard does the most sensible thing and just gets that ball away from the West Ham players, who are actually doing quite a good job here at making those distances very short, very compact, and making it difficult for us to play out. Ball's hooked over the top. And again, I talk about the ball magnet. The ball breaks here. You can see Zubimendi coming forward. You can see his intent. He's looking for where's that ball going to go. And he just picks his moment straight in. And what's interesting is the speed he comes in. So he's very much in a 50-50 duel. He gets there just a second before his man. But I mentioned how much he does first time. One touch. He doesn't need multiple touches. A lot of players take a touch, get it out of their body, get that separation from the defender, and then whip that pass. Zubimendi's so technically solid that in this position, with a bouncing ball as well, may I add, he is someone who is confident that he can get that ball zipped out. And you can see Saka at this point. He's making the run. He's telling Zubimendi, give it to me. I'll look after it. And Zubimendi gives him a very clean pass out wide. Ball comes out to Saka. And then here, I'm pausing it again. Look at Zubimendi. So he starts at the edge of his defensive third, 5 yards away from Gabriel. He then moves forward because that's where the game requires him to go. And again, this is what I talk about him being a ball magnet and gliding into possession. So again, we've seen him win the ball on the halfway line, give it out to Saka. Saka finds himself from the center of the pitch to a very, very wide position, showing the flexibility of our front three at the minute, where Saka is being allowed to roam in midfield. Trossard is coming in to give us that extra man in midfield. And on this occasion, Zubimendi follows his move forward. But what you can see if you look at the top of the box, Declan Rice is actually very far advanced. So Zubimendi's traveling into that space. You look at it, he comes in, gets the ball, moves forward, and the minute he sees Eze, who's also moving, this is what makes it happen. It's movement in football. In my previous video, I talked about players moving, and players moving makes a pass. On this occasion, Zubimendi sees it. He's got a very, very split second. You can see he's being closed down by Somerville here. And Eze comes in, he makes that run, balls in behind, and it falls to Declan Rice off the back of Eze's shot. But on this movement, you can see if Zubimendi starts with close distances beside his man, then he comes up, wins that second ball. Everything he did here was done in one touch. And that's the key. It was one touch. It was fast. It was decisive, but it was all done with very, very clinical, technical security. And that's what sets Zubimendi apart from many players. And I've talked about him moving up the park. You look at his heat map in this game. Look where it is. It's all over the park. His most congested touch is slightly in the right half space, in their half, but he's not playing that traditional six role. He's not that single pivot that many thought he would be coming in to be, where he would shield the back four and offer that protection in front of him in the way that Thomas Partey would have, perhaps, where he gets the ball, he turns and he gives it very much out to the right-hand side or through the middle. Zubimendi's a player that doesn't have a real angle bias and will go where the game wants him to go. And this allows Declan Rice to do Declan Rice things. It allows him to get up and down the pitch. When Zubimendi goes forward, if Declan sees the need to come in behind him, he can do that. That was something that he didn't necessarily have to do with Thomas Partey, but it did mean that Declan was playing very far forward. It did make him a top of the box player and a lower touch player. Whereas actually, we're seeing Declan Rice's touches go up this season. We're seeing him be more involved in games. We've just seen 2 weeks in a row. Newcastle, for me, Declan Rice was by far the man of the match. And then he got the man of the match against West Ham. But in my opinion, had Rice not have scored, that award would have gone to Zubi in this game, because against West Ham, Zubimendi was the controller. He was the orchestrator. He was the tempo setter. And I mentioned putting his studs on the ball. That's something that he's also very good at. He knows when he needs to take 3 or 4 touches and calm everything around, because that's a big part of football as well. Sometimes the emotion and the energy gets you going, but it's not always on. And this is something else that he is very good at. But let's have a look at his pass map. All over the park, left, right, through the middle. Wherever he saw options, he'd give the ball. And I've got other examples to show as well. But you look at his total passes, 73 passes. He had 80 touches in totals, which again reflects what I've said about how much he does first touch, first time pass, give the ball, 80 touches with 73 passes. That shows weren't many moments where he had more than a couple of touches. Generally, it was one touch, go. And a 95% accuracy, 69 successful passes, and 4 unsuccessful passes in 60 minutes of football. To come in on 30 minutes and make that kind of impact is absolutely insane. And you look at the pass map, it's going all over the pitch. But what I love about Zubimendi is he travels across the pitch. He doesn't just make the ball do the work. He travels, he glides, he's a magnet, as I said, and he moves where the game requires. And one of the things I love, this was an incident, this came to very, very little. But again, I want to highlight a few things. First up, Calafiori has the ball, edge of the box, and he's carrying. Zubimendi gets it, just pops it off to him. Zubimendi gives it straight back to him. Not a lot on, moves the ball into Gabriel this time. Calafiori moves up the pitch. Out to Declan Rice, ball comes back and ends up back into Zubimendi off Gabriel. Zubimendi in this position. So this is what I really wanted to highlight, because this move ultimately comes to nothing, but I thought it was a really good piece of play from Zubimendi. You get it. And as I said, a player that distributes the ball well, but he also moves. He's a very good carrier. And that's part of his game that I don't think we've quite got used to yet, because Thomas Partey carried on occasion. Jorginho didn't really carry. Zubimendi is a player that can carry very, very well. But he gets his head up here. Eze is the only pass. If he passes to Eze, what's happening? That ball's going into one of a couple of positions. It's either coming straight back to him, it's going back to Saliba, or it's going out to Timber if Eze takes a touch, or very, very best case scenario, depending on the position of Saka, he's playing that round the corner and in between a very, very tight gap. That gap will have closed by the time the ball comes into him. So Zubimendi, you can see him here. He gets his head up. And look at the distances of the West Ham players. I've highlighted them all here. You've got 5 players in a very, very tight, congested mid-block right in the middle of the park. Where's Zubimendi going to go? So instead of passing it, he gets his head up. So he starts to make a run that bends. He gets the ball. Next minute, Arsenal are going forward. Ball's with Trossard, and Zubimendi plays it on his left foot this time. The reason I've highlighted this is because in my previous video, I highlighted the angle bias of Martinelli and Gyokeres. In our game against Olympiacos, there were opportunities to go forward. Both of them failed to get their head up. Both of them wanted to go in the angle that suited their body shape. Martinelli failed to play in Gyokeres because he was so focused on straight ahead and to the right of himself. Zubimendi, by contrast to these kinds of players, gets his head up and he moves across the pitch. He opens his body and he's happy to play it out to the left, on his left foot, and give that ball. This isn't an easy pass. You can see he's being closed down. There's another man between him and Trossard, but he whips that ball out with pace and a lot of zip, and he gets it straight into Trossard, who played it down the line. And ultimately, as I said, it came to nothing. But this was an interesting moment just because you can see the decision making. And ultimately, it got us around West Ham's block and got us moving forward instead of us turning and going backwards again, because that's been the big criticism. And a lot of times, we would have seen one of our players in this position now put their foot on the ball, turn, knock it back to Saliba. Or, as I said, give it to Eze, who could have just popped it back to his man. Next minute is back at Gabriel, and suddenly our centre-backs are playing 1-2s between them. That's when we start to get frustrated. But Zubimendi is a player that gets his head up and carries into areas that can really hurt teams, and it can also just move players around. By him carrying it forward, it allowed Calafiori to go forward, it allowed Eze to go forward, and next thing you see, there is an opportunity on. But you can see whenever it comes to passing it, Eze's past the halfway line, Calafiori's right in the middle of the park, and Trossard gets the ball. Ultimately, he makes the wrong decision. But it's a case of Arsenal are moving forward, and Zubimendi's helping define that. He's changing our identity, and he's changing the way we play. Another big moment came, and this one is absolutely fascinating because it may not have been noticed in the game. But this move starts with David Raya, gets the ball, and he puts his foot on the ball. He baits West Ham, and he's looking at Falkirk, and he's saying, come at me, come at me, come and press me. And West Ham just refused to come forward. The whole West Ham team stood still. So before this, it's been given to Saliba and been knocked back. And Raya put his feet on the ball for a few minutes, and it was about 15 seconds. He stood with his studs on the ball in front of the North Bank, baiting West Ham, saying, come and close me down. Not one of them did. They were scared of him. They were scared to be cut through by David Raya's passing. He's just showed it against Olympiacos. Someone came in at him. Next minute, Lewis Skelly's putting the ball onto Martinelli's head, and Arsenal should have been 1-0 up. West Ham were scared to do that in this game. So he gives the ball out to Saliba, and look at the position of Zubimendi here. In the summer, whenever we were signing Zubimendi, I highlighted something that he's very good at doing. He's very, very good at using his body and his brain to take a defender away, or an attacker or a presser, into an area by moving himself out of the way to allow the centre-back to carry. So I've highlighted his run here. Gets the ball, Saliba gets the ball, and Zubimendi just takes Paqueta away. But he doesn't go forward as we expect Saliba to do. It's right before half-time, pops it back to David Raya, and the move keeps going. But you can see Calafiori then looks for it. Next minute, Zubimendi's back to create a double pivot with Calafiori, and the two of them are moving through the middle of the pitch. Calafiori moves the ball up the park, some 1-2s. Next minute, it's back to Zubimendi, and this is a crucial part of this move. So Zubimendi gets the ball passed back to him. You can see he lets it run across his body. Next minute, it looks like he's in trouble. He's sliding across, but he wins it back. That ball keeps coming across the pitch into Saka. Saka gives it back to Zubimendi, and you can see what I really love here is Zubimendi is always an option. And this is something that I mentioned the distances. Look where Zubimendi has managed to find himself. So he's won that ball, given it to Saliba, who onto Timber, Saka. Next minute, he is in space. He's in complete freedom. Give me that ball. But look at where I've paused this. Look at the position of Zubimendi's head. He's not looking at the ball. Saka's about to pass that ball. He's looking ahead. He's looking across the pitch and he's looking ahead of him. That shows balance, understanding, and technical security to be able to scan the pitch, look at what's around you, and really look at the next move before you receive the ball. Because bear in mind, this is the Premier League. That ball is thrown at you every time. He gets the ball, middle of the park, and I've just shown him carrying the ball in the previous graphic. Now, Zubimendi, again on this occasion, look at where he is and look at the players around him. So he gets the ball, he's carrying it. One passes on. Does he give it out left to Declan Rice, who has gone on the overlap around Trossard? And once again, we've seen Trossard coming into the middle of the park to give Arsenal that overload in the middle and give us an extra man in the engine room. But no, he gets the ball and he keeps going, keeps carrying. Trossard keeps coming in field and Declan Rice keeps running, gets it out to him very, very quickly. And it's one of those where Declan ends up coming in field and suddenly Arsenal have a lot of men in attack. But look at how quickly West Ham have got back here. This is very Nuno. This is what he does. He creates a very, very structured block. 8 men, and look at the distances between them. You're talking 10 yards between each of these players, staggered in it. So 2 lines of 4, 10 yards apart, with each man around 5 yards between them in each line. There's nothing to play into there. So Arsenal head up, keep that ball moving, keep it moving around the pitch. Into Timber, manages to find its way across the pitch again. And this is where Zubimendi really, really comes into it. He gets the ball. He's carried it. He's the one that's unsettled them. And he's the one that's got that ball out to Declan Rice. Once again, gets it out quickly, swiftly into the wide area. And I talked about him following his pass for the Declan Rice goal. On this occasion, he does again. He keeps going. Ball comes in, and you can see Trossard coming down. He's coming south. He's coming into a deep position to get it. And Zubimendi's going, he's going north. He's going towards the box. Suddenly, West Ham aren't sure what to deal with. And you can see Zubimendi, he's moved back across the pitch. Once again, he's filling that gap. He knows where he needs to be now. So he's created an option to go forward to pass into. That pass wasn't used. So straight away, he's still moving. And movement is the basis of football. And Zubimendi comes in, back into the 6th position. Next minute, Saka's got the ball. Beautiful reverse pass into Timber, and it breaks across the box. But once again, look at Zubimendi. He's found himself in that 6th position. He's in a place where if that ball breaks, he's going to win the second ball. He's going to get that ball at the edge of the box and keep the move going for Arsenal. Instead, it comes to Calafiori. Calafiori gets the ball, edge of the box, right foot, and smashes this off the post. It comes off the keeper's back, just not enough power to bounce back into the net. But on another day, that does, or it goes in off the inside of the post, and Arsenal are leaving this game 2-0 up. For me, that is what really defines Zubimendi. And again, you look at where he is. He's got his head down, he's crouched, he's ready to pounce in case that ball breaks. Ez is covering behind, and Arsenal now have a lot of men in the box, 5 players in there with Calafiori shot, and West Ham are scrambling. There's a lot of players unsettled, but this all started with Zubimendi moving the ball quickly, moving around the pitch and creating those opportunities for players to really get into dangerous positions. And then the final one is possibly the most decisive moment of the game. It was the penalty for Jurrien Timber. And right before this happens, before Zubimendi gets the ball, there's a couple of minutes of Zubimendi and Saliba moving the ball around the pitch in our own half. On this occasion, Zubimendi gets it, and you can see again the number of players ahead of him. We gets the ball. Again, the easy option here is to play that ball back to Saliba or play it into Declan Rice, who has nothing on and is probably going to give that ball straight back to you. But Zubimendi wants to go forward. He realizes the momentum is with Arsenal. Arsenal need a second goal. And this is what I talked about tempo setting. Tempo setting at times means speeding the game up. It also means slowing it down when necessary. And Zubimendi is a player that can have those playmaking, line breaking qualities. Here he gets the ball, gets his head up, sees Saka and gets it out to him. He's once again drifted across into that right-hand channel and he's given Saka an option. He doesn't take it. He goes straight past him into Saliba. Doesn't need it. Next minute, the ball's back with Saliba. Calafiori into Zubimendi, who gets it on the Cruyff turn. But one thing I want to highlight here is I highlighted Jurrien Timber and Zubimendi in this picture. Look at Timber's position and look at Zubimendi's. Now, there's not a huge amount on in this. So whenever that ball's played, you wonder where he's aiming at. Timber doesn't move. I said about movement making football. Zubimendi spots that there's no one behind Timber and he just plays that ball over the top. Next minute, Timber starts running. He's in behind and he's clattered. Taken down on the outside of the box, but he's beaten his man with his first touch and he's through. Next minute, Arsenal have a penalty, 2-0, game over, and that's it. But ultimately, these things came down from Zubimendi spotting things, seeing them early, moving into positions where he could be effective, coming towards the ball, and giving teammates an option at all times. Because having an option and having a player that you trust to come out, look after the ball, and give you back a very clean pass, that's something that's very special. Arsene Wenger used to say when he signed a player, he looked at who Dennis Bergkamp passed it to. And he referenced Robert Pires. And he said in his first training session, Bergkamp kept giving him the ball. He knew he had signed gold. With Zubimendi, you look at every player on the park. They all trust him with the ball. And they all trust him with bad passes as well. When you've got a player that's so good on the ball, you can get that ball and kind of poke it back to them. You can find a way of just giving them the ball. I showed a graphic with where he's taken it on the bounce. It's the first goal. He gets that ball on the halfway line. It's breaking. He hits it in the half volley, perfectly accurate out to Saka, and he gets that move going. That composure and that technical quality is something that you can't teach. That's so difficult to improve on when you get to senior level. These are things that are developed at such a young age. Zubimendi just has it. But the thing that he's got more than anything is supreme understanding of where to stand on the pitch, where to be. And that's a case of when we're in possession and one of our players has it and they're looking for an option, Zubimendi is always very close to them in the middle of the park. He knows when to move up. I mentioned Declan Rice now knows when to come back. And that understanding is developing between the two of them. But when Odegaard came off, it meant that Zubimendi had to be the primary ball progressor in midfield. He had to be the player that was taking charge of that. And that's a role that he really thrives in because Eze isn't that type of player. Odegaard and Eze are very different players. And for me, are two that will thrive together. But with Zubimendi in there, things just started to work. They started to really flow. Saliba looked better. Declan Rice looked better. Ahead of them, Saka looked better. And these things were a big result of him just knowing where to be and just how quickly to get the ball to them. And that's not a slight on Martin Odegaard. I want to see these two players on the pitch together. But Odegaard's injury happened, and it's something that we now just have to move on from until he's back. Thankfully, we have players like Eze, we have Ethan Waneri, and we have a progressor in midfield like Martin Zubimendi, because yesterday or Saturday, he was the best player on the pitch for a lot of the game. He was a joy to watch. He just glided around the pitch. I was watching the game from the North Bank, and at one point in the second half, I was just glued to him, watching where he went at all times, because you watch him, you see a lot of the ball. And that's exactly what we're going to see more of. He's a player that hasn't needed any adaptation time. Believe me, he's got layers to come because he's still getting used to this league. He just isn't showing any signs of it. And the fact that he is doing that and he is doing what he is at such an early stage, that shows how intelligent he is in and out of possession. But ultimately, this is a guy that can win duels, he can win headers and out jump players significantly bigger than him, but on the ball, and he's just another level. He's someone that has things that no one else on our team has. And the fact that we've added it this summer is just a huge testament to the recruitment that's been done. But I think that's a good place to leave it. Please subscribe. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with my analysis on Martin Zubimendi? What would you like to see more from him? And ultimately, where do you think we are working towards? What do you think we're doing? And are you impressed with what you're seeing so far? Thank you for watching. As I said, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Please come back again very soon. Thank you.
You're now listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.